Hello, PolyInnovator. So this is the next Now Page vlog. This is number 5, actually. So now I've been successful at doing this for a few months straight. I actually started back in July, but I didn't really keep track of it until August. So the first one starts in August. And I'm looking at the different posts right now, and it's very interesting because this whole concept by Derek Severs is made to give an update on personal and professional lives. And I really like this concept. And I wanted to start out doing vlogs when I created the YouTube channel. However, it just didn't really come with a consistency factor. And in order for me to be consistent, I had to do more. But this Now Page vlog only requires me to do it once a month. And I think that was a good way for me to organize it and get myself to do it, because each time it comes to it, I get excited to do it. And so this is why I can get vlogs on the channel without having too much of a pressure on me, because I'm already creating a ton of content elsewhere. I don't want to have it too complicated. And it's a really cool idea because there has been a lot of changes. And I'll go back to the story of my website. Last year, around this same time, actually, it was, I think, beginning of November, though, where my website just completely crashed. I was using WordPress Bakery, or Visual Composer, whatever you want to call it, and it just completely crashed how my site worked. I don't know what happened. I couldn't even really go back to a previous version because for some reason, something with the builder was crapping out on me. And so I ended up trying all the WordPress page builders. And some people have said I get kind of hyperbolic, but when I say I've tried all of them, I tried all of them. Gutenberg, Beaver Builder, Divi, Elementor, even a couple other smaller ones that I can't even remember at this point because they weren't even that impressive. And the problem was, I couldn't quite get the site to be what I wanted, and Elementor was the best way for me to do it. I even wrote a blog post saying how Elementor saved the PolyInnovator website. And over the past year, I've edited that constantly, and I found myself just constantly in a state of revamping the site to make it better and better versus keeping it simple and just having people understand, like, hey, this is what I'm about. And I would overcomplicate my words for no reason for the most part, and the website organization, I guess you could say the sitemap, was something that was very complicated. And not that people couldn't understand it, it's just I overcomplicated it because of the power I had with the builder. And the problem with builders like that is that they often come with complicated code and it makes it run slow. So no matter what I did, no matter what plugin I downloaded, Smush or Lazy Load Images and Cloudflare, I could never get the speed up. So not only was it too complicated, the speed was slow, and I was always dealing with this meta work versus actually creating content. So I decided, screw it, let's move. And so what I've been working on the past couple months is moving to Ghost CMS. And I think the last Now Page vlog, I talk about how I was thinking about it. But the Now Page actually originated on my airtext.xyz blockchain blog because I was trying to make it more of a personal site and the Omni blog a little bit more professional. But I realized that they're both one and the same because they're both me. They're both PolyInnovator. And that's the whole point, where even though PolyInnovator doesn't have a specific niche besides polymathy for the most part, I have an Omni channel or Omni blog when it comes to all different kinds of topics. And so I really like the Omni and Poly, those terms just much and many and all. I really enjoy being able to have the freedom that those terms allow me to have. And that's why you see those everywhere, PolyPro or OmniBlog and all this weird names that I should just say blog, videos, and podcasts, but I don't really exemplify what I'm about. So this new vlog, I wanted to go into a little bit because I'm looking at the new site right now, and I'm really loving it. It's built on Ghost, which is a minimalistic site, and the problem with that was, since it's so minimal, they actually don't even allow like drop-down menus or having a dynamic homepage. So it's a headless CMS. You could code your own homepage, but I didn't want to learn coding that much. I've actually ironically had to learn to code again in order to get anything accomplished, but I'm happy to note that the two things that I wanted, I was able to figure out to a degree. The homepage to have an actual page, which is a taxonomy in Ghost, where I can create pages which are like blog posts but a little bit more expanded, and I can take that page and input it onto the homepage, which was really cool because it's not really common on most Ghost sites. So that way, instead of having to go to code every time I wanted to change it, I can change it in the admin, like WordPress. And then the other thing was to have blog posts show up underneath it, and for some reason I could only have one or the other. And so for a long time I had one or the other, and I finally figured out a way to have both. And I even expanded upon it for PolyInnovator and the Polycast, which I think is super cool. That's exactly what I wanted from my homepage, is to have all three content types in a row. So in case you want to listen, view, or read, you have the option. The other thing was the menu, the drop down menu. And I went literally and found like as many CSS drop down menus as I possibly could, because CSS is the simplest way to make it work. I didn't want to have JavaScript because it would make too much code, and didn't quite need it. I might still end up using it because I can't seem to get my menus to stay in the right position. Either the icons themselves will move around or the drop down menu will move around. It's one or the other. So once again, kind of that duality problem. And in order to get one working, like I can get my drop down menus to work right now, but the position of the menu is off. And so it's just a constant back and forth, and I'm figuring that out. And these now page vlogs are to express my personal problems and endeavors, as well as the positive and negative. And so I wanted to share that with you. It's like, that's what I'm working on. That's what's keeping me from progressing. But I'm not going to let that keep me. And so that's why I'm working on this right now. In fact, right after this, I'm going to make a new blog post for the About Now page on here. So instead of having a separate page, they're just going to act like blog posts, which I think is really cool. And that's the really cool thing about Ghost too, is that it doesn't work in categories and tags. It just works in tags, which act kind of like hashtags in a way on like Twitter, for example. So when you click on Now page, it's going to bring you to all the Now page vlogs. And so it's basically like a category, but it's just a tag. And I think that probably comes off a little bit weird, but I think it's very simplified. And so all the different content types that I made, like documentation or Now page or my Fireside Codex, like I had on AirText, they're all basically their own tag. Even the polycasts, I'm going to make actual blog posts for each polycast now, which is something I should have been doing a while back, transcribing each of the interviews, and that way there's another way for you to consume it. And so I'm really excited to get those up. And the current moment, I'm going to revamp basically all 180 of my blog posts to a degree. Some posts may just be adding another paragraph with contextual differences, like it's been a while since they were made, so I want to give people like, hey, this is what's different about it. Or I'll even change the posts themselves if it requires that. So like, for example, one of them was how the United Living Construct was put on Medium, but now I'm going to change it to Ghost because I'm no longer on Medium. And I also included all the United Living Construct stuff because that was my previous endeavor, and I wanted to share that with people still. I'm not going to work on the ULC in the way I used to. If I do, it's going to be through the poly-innovator kind of mindset or ecosystem. And so I just kind of absorbed those posts into PolyInnovator, so if you want to see it, you can. And that's what happened with the podcast as well. If you scroll down on the podcast, you'll see the ULC Tech podcast. And I think that's really cool because it's part of my history. And PolyInnovator is my history and future, as well as you joining me on that journey of becoming a polymath. And I think that, too, beyond that, work has been stressful, but it's one of those things where I love teaching. And so despite the stress, and that's not stress from the work, it's stress from like financial strain, which we're all facing at this point. We're going to hit a recession if we're not already in one. And I think, too, it's one of those things where we're all in this pandemic together. We're still in one for the most part. And even if some places are healing up more than others, there's still places that are hit hard. And hopefully we all get through it as a global civilization. And I think that's the more we try, the more we work together, the better it'll be. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help people make a change that way and come together. So that's what I've been working on. Here's what I'm going to be kind of focusing on. Like I mentioned, the blog posts. I'm going to be revamping all the posts and pages, as well as transcribing the interviews at some point here soon. At the current moment, I've actually been doing interviews every day. In fact, right after I record this, I'm going to start editing the video for today. Because what happened was, I was recording over 70 interviews with amazing people. And I got to number 25. And I was like, this was recorded back in July. That's insane. And so I was like, okay, this is not fast enough. I wanted to be consistent. In that way, people could actually see a new interview every week. The problem was, because of that weekly schedule, I had 70 people. If I were to do every week, I'd have a year and a quarter worth of episodes. That's great. But people who came on the show were asking me like, hey, when is that episode coming out? And it was few and far between, but it's still enough to where I was like, I'm kind of letting these people down by making them wait so long. And so I wanted to get them all out there so people can be using this knowledge, because there's so much great tidbits and knowledge and tangents on these episodes. That's why I record them for so long. I don't have a set time limit on these episodes. I take the kind of Joe Rogan approach where if the episode's 20 minutes, fine. But if it's 2 hours or 3 hours, that's fine too. And I know that some people might not want to listen to it for that long, but I think that if they did, they'll get a lot out of it. The whole point of exemplifying these multidisciplinary traits in people are to show that it is possible to be polymathic and it is possible to be successful as a polymath or jack of all trades or generalist or whatever term you identify with, multi-potentialite. And because of these interviews, I have not worked on the Omni content here recently, but I do plan on going back to that. I have that mini series of the multidisciplinary spectrum. I really want to get that out as soon as possible. And the really cool thing was I went through hundreds, like over 600 different pages of polymath and generalist and jack of all trades and multi-potentialite. I took all those keywords and searched on Google, Bing, YouTube, Spotify, Mix.com, Reddit, everywhere I could go. I tried to look for those terms. And so, again, someone was kind of saying I was hyperbolic in the sense of what I say, but I literally did see almost all of what the internet has to offer when it comes to polymathy. And I know I didn't see everything, but I saw most of it. And I think that I get a good picture of what's offered right now and what could be offered when it comes to content. What kind of content can I create? For example, I was watching Doctor Strange the other day, and I realized he's a polymath. He is someone that we could learn from, even though he's a fictional character. That's a thought experiment or a content type, a food for thought that people haven't done yet. And so I want to be able to do that. And I think that the more I progress, the more I create, the better I'm going to get and the better content you're going to be able to receive. And yeah, that's really kind of it. I don't want to keep this vlog too long, but I really want to share all that because there has been a lot of changes and I'm hoping to get this site fixed up here soon. Once I get that menu down, I'll be fine. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just want the menu to work so that way if you're on there, you don't have any issues navigating, technical issues wise. And so it's going to be really cool. I'm going to work on the personal poly innovation system as well, the modular degree and 4 pillars, as well as just getting PolyPro involved. And so that's the last thing we'll talk about before I wrap up this video today, is PolyPro. Before, I didn't have as much to offer, but now that I have a whole bunch of blog posts on here for the free audience, I also want to make sure I have some paid options as well. And these are going to be more long posts, like long form, more detailed posts, so to speak. And so if I have something to offer that is very juicy and very detailed, I want to go full all out and make it very, very detailed. And I think that's going to be very useful for people. And so you can sign up for those kind of posts, which I'm thinking right now to be once a week. But if you have other ideas, I'm certainly well open to, hey, this is what I want from you. This is what I want to know about. This is what I want to learn. Can you help me learn that? Or maybe I can make it around the modular degree and just give advice on that. So the subscription is like information on how to build your modular degree. I'll surely make free content on that as well, of course, but I just want to offer something more for people who want to pay for more. And so beyond that, there's also specialproject.io, which is an awesome platform. The best way I can describe it is a combination of YouTube and Netflix, where you have your own subscription channel like Netflix, but it acts more like a YouTube ecosystem. And that's so awesome, because that way, like, if you join up to it, you're not just signing up to me, you're signing up for the platform, which will allow you to go to other channels as well. And it's kind of like having a subscription service to multiple different places if you want to, or just kind of sign up and get all the free content. There's going to be plenty of free stuff. In fact, I don't know if I'm going to post all my videos, but I probably will. All my videos, or most of them, on that channel. So that way, if YouTube ever goes down or there's another adpocalypse, you'll be able to watch it on there as well. And so that way, too, I can even create special series just for that channel. And I think that's going to be super cool. I'm so excited because Omni content itself is my main series, but it's mainly just an organizational model. It's not really an episodic series. However, I have multiple little mini series coming up, like the multidisciplinary spectrum, or a series on Ikigai, or how to build a computer, all these really cool concepts that I want to share with people that I've learned from. And it's going to be their own little series on there. I don't know, it's me nerding out over the tech aspect, but I just love it so much. Other than that, I hope you're all as excited as I am, and I'm thinking that this is going to be a really great, awesome change for PolyInnovator. So thank you.